think what you guys are doing is awesome. I think it is wonderful, amazing, and great that you have decided, not to listen to me, but decided to spend 48 hours here making games. And in fact, what I'm going to say in the next few minutes is why not only do I think it's like wonderful and awesome, I actually think it is morally good that you are here and spending your weekend making games. I think it is a virtuous act. Now, you may agree with me, you may not, so, I believe it. And we'll see if, after I say a little bit, whether or not you agree. So, how many of you have participated in a game jam before? Great. How many of you have made games, whether in a game jam or otherwise? Okay, so a lot of people, not everyone. So one of the things that I think is really interesting about making games is that, a great game is fun. And so people who don't make games tend to think that making a game must be fun because making a great game is fun. Right? Like, I have seen that a lot of people are like, oh, you make video games, that must be so fun. And I'm like, why do you say that? Well, playing games is fun. So making games, of course, must be fun. Now, I'm sure everyone who's been in a game jam or made games outside of game jams or in game jams knows that it's not always fun. Like, I love movies. I think movies are awesome. One of my recent fave movies is the Mad Max Fury Road, right? How many people have seen Mad Max Fury Road? There we go. Who hasn't seen Mad Max Fury Road? Go see Mad Max Fury Road. It's a great movie. Like, so does everyone agree it's a really good movie? Yeah? Yes. See, there we go. So, now, I think... Yeah, it's do you have young kids?
I do.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yes. Yeah. My kids are a little older, so I can see more movies now. So, like, seeing Mad Max Fury Road is really entertaining. It's really enjoyable. If you watch the extra features on the Mad Max Fury Road stuff, the actors didn't think it was so great. Being out in the desert and doing this stuff, not so fun. If you were one of those people, they hired Cirque du Soleil performers to be on the tops of those kind of crane things that were going down, driving through the desert in Africa, swinging way around back and forth on those things. And I imagine if I was one of those people, what would be going through my mind would not be, this is so fun. It might be, I feel really alive and close to death. This is very exhilarating and I don't need coffee. I'm very awake. Not fun. Watching that is so fun, but doing it, not necessarily so much. And total aside, once you do watch Mad Max Fury Road and you watch the extras, which are all awesome, there is some extras which show them with most of the effects are practical. They just did them. They have some cars. Okay, there you go. Well, the scenes of like them actually just shooting this stuff. So of like them blowing all that stuff up. I don't know. I find it mind-boggling to imagine those are actual humans in a lot of those scenes, especially in our world of all digital stuff. So it's not the same, obviously, making video games. But I think that same piece happens. People, your friends, you're saying, I'm going to spend my weekend making video games, and they'll say, if they know nothing about making games, that sounds awesome, that sounds so fun, you'll have a great time. And hopefully part of it is great, but it'll be hard. And you're challenging yourself. Being here and signing up for this and committing to do something for 48 hours, to bring a new thing into existence, is challenging yourself. And I think that is virtuous. I think that is a morally good act, to challenge yourself, to step up, to do something. So I commend you for that. You work over the weekend, you work on games, and one of the things I also find interesting about games is that you come up with a solution to something, a problem that presents itself. And after you've done that solution, people look at it and go, well, of course you solved the problem that way. How else would you have solved the problem? And you're like, well, the other 19 ways that I tried before the 20th way actually worked. Elegant solutions to problems look intuitively obvious after you figure them out, but are not in any way, shape, or form that as you go through it. Sometimes it just comes to you and you see it, and that's wonderful, and those are blessed moments, and we all grab those moments. But a lot of times you just push your head against it to try to figure it out. And so one of the other things that you're doing this weekend is working through difficult challenges that come up through putting together the game. And hopefully, you will find elegance. And I think elegance is a quality that our world can use more of. I think bringing elegance into the world is virtuous and good. Now, some of you know me, some of you don't. I run Codename Entertainment. Before that, I ran a video game company called Pure Solutions. Before that, I was in university studying painting. I do not have a business degree. I do not have a computer science degree. I have an art degree, Bachelor of Fine Arts from UVic, and I didn't actually study other people's paintings. I quite literally painted. Had a canvas and painted. So that's my background. And sometimes when I was painting, the painting was horrible. It felt horrible. It turned out horrible. The whole process was just a forgettable, horrible experience. Sometimes it felt awesome, and it turned out great, and I was so happy with it. But regardless of whether it felt horrible and turned out horrible, or felt great and turned out great, or sometimes it would feel horrible and turn out great, sometimes it would feel great and turn out horrible. Anyways, regardless of any of that, every one of them was a success in that I was learning more and stepping forward as an artist. And I believe very deeply that video games are a form of art, and I assume that I don't have to argue that point with anyone here, that video games are art. And I think every one of you can make fantastic video games. And the trick to making fantastic video games is not being touched by some divine spirit. The trick to making fantastic video games is to make a whole bunch of really shitty video games. You've got to make shitty video games before you can make mediocre video games that are then maybe subpar video games, and you can work up to making fantastic video games. And so regardless of how you feel about your time here this weekend, regardless of how you feel about how the video game turned out, you will have worked to improve yourself as a creator of games, as a creator and bringer into this world of an art form. And that, improving yourself, is something worth celebrating. That, I think, is virtuous.